Hello everyone, you are very welcome to our talk on the law student experience. Today I am joined by three of our current students and I will introduce you to our three students shortly. I will ask each current student a few questions and then afterwards I will take any questions that you have for our students. So if you think of any questions that you have for our current students, please pop them in the chat and we will get to them in a few moments. After this talk, we have another Q&A session at 2 o'clock on Pubble. So from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, you can ask our academics any questions about studying law. To begin this talk, I would like to introduce you to Patrick McWalter. Patrick is a final year law and business student, and he is also the Vice Auditor of the Law Society at NUI Galway. I suppose I'd like to start off, Patrick, if you could just, maybe tell us why you decided to study law at NUI Galway.
Thanks, Lisa. Hi, everyone. So why did I study law? I suppose in business set on doing business in college, but then in TY we took part in the mock trials competition in Dublin. I'm sure some students here probably have taken part in it as well, and that just changed the direction for me. So in fifth year and final, or in leaving cert, then I was kind of set on doing law, and I came to the open days in NUIG and I spoke to a friend who had done law in NUIG as well, and she qualified as solicitor, and that was kind of my decision made then. Like, the campus is so nice. I'm from Galway myself as well, so it's nice to be able to go to college in a place that, you know, is only up the road from you and you know the city inside out. And at the open days and everything, staff were just really nice, and it was great to get a feel of the campus.
Great, thanks, Patrick. And I suppose, could you tell us a bit about the Law Student Society at NUI Galway and what it's about, and why students would maybe consider joining it when they start studying at NUI Galway?
Yeah, so I suppose I'm sure a lot of the students have heard that clubs and societies are such a huge part of the college experience, no matter where you go to college. So the Law Society, or we call it LawSoc, is one of the largest societies on campus in NUIG. So we've over 3,000 members, and I suppose it's a way for students to get to know each other. Sometimes college can be a lot larger community than secondary school, and it might be more challenging to get to know people. So, you know, we run all sorts of events. We have a law ball every year, which I suppose you could compare to your Debs. We have lots of guest speakers. This year it was our 100th anniversary, so we had a webinar series. We had talks from the Chief Justice, the Minister for Justice, courts reporters, lots of different people to try and get a bit of variety into the, I suppose, extracurricular education, and then careers events as well, trying to get people kind of ready for after college, and as I suppose to add to the student life experience, I suppose, in the School of Law.
That's great, Patrick, and I suppose it's important to mention that the Law Society won I suppose Society of the Year, so both you and the rest of the committee and the rest of the members of the Law Society must be absolutely delighted that all the activity you have done meant that you were Law Society of the Year.
Yeah, I did multiple, but yeah.
Yeah, so well done to yourself and the rest of the committee members. I know Anna Lee, who's joining us as well, is on the committee. And I suppose this year has been quite an unusual year, but I suppose going back to when you were on campus as a student, could you maybe tell us about a typical day as a student on campus at NUI Galway?
Yeah, so I suppose compared to other programs like engineering, your timetable is a bit more flexible. There's a lot more independent learning in law. So, you know, my timetable, I think maybe in first and second year was kind of 16, 17 hours a week. But then to supplement that, you know, you spend your time in the library. So, you know, maybe I might have coffee after that. You know, it's not all work, and then head to the library for a while, and might have another lecture in the afternoon, and then kind of finish up for the evening. So I used to try and get most of my work done during the day anyways, and leave it free for whatever society event or night out might be happening later on in the day. But yeah, it's up to yourself really how you spend your time, and if you can kind of set yourself a routine, it definitely pays off in the long run, I think.
Great, thanks, Patrick. And I suppose one final question then would be, I suppose, actually just going back to maybe, could you tell us about your study abroad experience in third year, and where did you go and how did you find it?
Yeah, so I took French as one of my modules with my course in first and second year, and that meant then in third year I was able to spend the year abroad. And so I spent my Erasmus year in France, in a city called Aix-en-Provence down south, and it was like without doubt the best year of my life. Really, it was such a fantastic experience. And you know, if anyone has any, well, I think most students take like French or German now with their leaving cert. So I highly encourage anyone to stick with it. I know sometimes it can be tough doing the third language, but it definitely pays off in the long run. And when you opportunity in third year to spend the year in the sun, it's definitely worthwhile. So yeah, I spent the year going to college in a university over there, and you know, you just kind of get to, I suppose, and your language skills come on leaps and bounds. But yeah, my time was cut short when COVID arrived. We didn't know what it was at the time, but before long I was packing my bags to go home. But it's definitely a great experience, and I highly encourage everyone to take the time for it.
Great, thanks, Patrick. And sorry, one more question then will be, do you have any plans at the moment for what you might do after graduating?
Yeah, so I'm doing my final year exams now the week after next, and in the summer of second year I did a summer internship, which is basically a month of work experience at a law firm called Arthur Cox in Dublin. So I spent the month there working as an intern, and at the end of the month then I was offered a training contract. So that's basically a 2.5 year contract to qualify as a solicitor. And so please God, but yeah, that's the plan for the moment anyways.
Great, thanks very much, Patrick. We might hear from you in a few minutes. So if anyone has any questions for Patrick, please do pop them in the chat now. Moving on, I would like to introduce you to Anna Lee. Anna is a first year student in the Law BCL Criminology and Criminal Justice course, and is also a member of the committee for the Law Society at NUI Galway. To begin with, Anna Lee, may I ask you, I suppose, what made you decide that you wanted to study law at university? When did you know you had an interest in law, and how did you know that was the area you wanted to study?
Thanks, Lisa. So I always did debating throughout secondary school, and I loved English as well, and I loved reading, so it was kind of the obvious choice to me. And similar to Patrick, when I was in TY, I did work experience with a barrister and a solicitor, and I also did the moot court competition, and there was a Look into Law programme that I think it's still being run. It's a week up in the courts. It's organised by the Law Society of Ireland, and of course as well I loved watching crime shows with my friends, so it was something that I've always kind of had in the back of my mind.
Great, thanks, Annalie. And I suppose, what made you decide that you wanted to study specifically at NUI Galway?
So the course that I'm studying at the moment, I love. It was perfect, and I liked everything about it when I was kind of researching it. It's the only course with the BCL. I know you can do law, criminology, criminal justice in other colleges, but that's as an arts degree. It's not the bachelor of law. Also the fact that mooting is compulsory in second year. Because when I knew I wanted to do law, I was looking at other colleges and they were kind of saying that only the top students would get the top picks of certain modules. I like the idea that this was compulsory. At the time, the new moot court room was being built in Galway as well. I still haven't seen it with things being online, but I'm told that it's beautiful. There's also loads of opportunities at NUI Galway. And Galway itself is just such a beautiful city. I love that it's kind of a city of culture. And yeah, I just fell in love with everything.
Great, thank you. And I suppose if you could maybe tell us a little bit about the transition from secondary school into university, as you've basically recently gone through it, and I think lots of students can be quite nervous about going on to third level education. So if you could just tell us a little bit how you found the transition from going from learning in secondary school to learning in university.
It is very different. It did take me a while to settle in, especially with things kind of being online and everything was so uncertain. At the time, I know cases were kind of rising with the pandemic, but really and truly, I do love college life. It is very different. Kind of Patrick touched on the freedom and the sort of independence that you have in college that I really liked. Even small things like I kind of find that for the leaving certain stuff, a lot of it is rote learning. And I remember what used to kind of annoy me a little bit with some secondary school teachers, and I think maybe people watching might agree with me here. You know, some teachers might say, oh, you can only write in black pen, you can only write in blue pen, you have to do spider diagrams, etc. In college, you kind of have freedom over how you learn and what you do with your day. Yes, you have your lectures to attend, but if I wanted to kind of get my work done out of the way early, I could, or if I want to start later, I could. It's very flexible, the kind of extra reading that you do and the extra study that you do. And I also liked how law is very different to Leaving Cert English. I kind of think that for English and Irish, especially for the Leaving Cert, you're kind of told to memorize essays, whereas with law, you can kind of be critical. And it's nice being able to have your own opinion in college and not being kind of criticized for it, maybe. Also, the fact that there's so many societies. As you mentioned, I'm a member of the Law Society and I'm involved in a few other societies as well. I come from a small enough rural town where GAA is kind of the only sort of social outlet. So it's kind of nice having, it's more fun than secondary school, I think, college. Great,
thanks so much. And I suppose one final question. I know it's been an unusual year to start university, but if you could tell us about the highlight maybe of your time studying to date.
It would kind of be impossible to pick just one. With the Law Society, I have some wonderful experiences. I competed in the moot court competition recently, which was, while it was held online, it was still a lot of fun. We also had the law ball online, which was great crack. And then, of course, as well, I'm a class rep, so I'd be involved with the Students' Union, and they organised this online event called the Hump Day Hoolie every Wednesday, which was kind of how I met a lot of my friends at college.
That's great. Thanks so much. And if anyone has any questions for Anna-Lee, please do pop them in the chat. And finally, I would like to introduce you to Charlena McLaughlin. Charlena is a mature student and is a second year Law BCL and Human Rights student. And Charlena is also a CAIM leader, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a couple of moments. But I suppose first of all, Charlena, if you could maybe tell us a bit about why you decided to study the Law BCL and Human Rights.
So before I came to college, I was a healthcare assistant in Limerick Regional, and basically I was there for nearly 7 years, and I wanted to kind of step away from the healthcare side but still stick to people and try to have this idea that I could make a change. And so I went for this course mainly because of the human rights aspect, but law is so universal that you could bring it anywhere. So when I seen law and human rights, I thought I could still stick with people, stick with the human rights advocacy side, but then have a law degree kind of in my back pocket when I leave college again. because it's quite intimidating to go back to college when you're a mature student and taking a new career. So it was nice to kind of blend the two, that my experience and kind of my aspirations for future.
Great, thanks. And if you could tell us about the CAME programme and the support available for first year students, and I suppose not many people might know what CAME is, so if you could first of all maybe tell us a little bit about that.
So CAME is a shared learning experience for first years coming into NUI Galway. It's kind of a unique module. It's completely optional, you don't have to come, but most students that do come say that it's invaluable, and it's much different than a lecture kind of vibe. It's a very informal place to come. It happens once a week, it's for an hour, and you'll have CAME leaders like myself who will help you through anything that you're stuck with in college, whether it is finding somewhere on campus or whether it's lectures or material that you're not quite understanding, because the amount of jargon that you face when you go into a law course, it's nice to have somebody there beside you that can say, well, you're not alone with it, and this is how we feel as well. And it's nice that you can have a leader from second, third or fourth year law come in and kind of guide you through the course a little bit. We had a fantastic group this year of 35 students in our CAME section, and they really found it helpful, and they found a good few friends in the group as well, and it kind of supported them through the year, just to try and get them through a very difficult year with COVID and not being on campus and just trying to cope, really. So it's a support mechanism more than anything.
That's great, thank you. And all our law students get the opportunity to complete a guided research essay, and in second year Law BCL and Human Rights students complete the guided research essay. So if you could tell us maybe a little bit about that project and how it's useful for students.
So the human rights and law course is a little bit different than other law courses in that the guided research essay is in second year instead of fourth year. It's actually really handy, because when you're in fourth year you have the nerves of getting through the year and graduating. So this year I did my guided research essay on the mother and baby homes, and it's basically a 5,000 word essay. It seems very long, but it's actually quite short, and you just give an analysis of the topic that you pick. You can pick any topic that you want, and you have a supervisor along the way to support you, and you're never alone with it. You can just pop your supervisor an email and they'll get back to you, and it's a place where you can just have your own opinion of a worldwide kind of problem or an international problem.
Great, thanks so much. And I suppose finally, if you could tell us maybe what was the highlight of your experience to date?
Last year I got the opportunity to go to the Supreme Court in Dublin as part of the DCU moot, and that was a really good experience, because in second year law you have a moot module now, whereas in previous years you didn't have this module. So it was really good experience to be able to see kind of what you would be doing after you graduate in a real life setting without kind of all the pressure of it. And
sorry, Charlene, I think you went on mute there, or else you lost connection. Sorry, Charlene. Michael, you might just check. Oh, can you unmute yourself, Charlene? I think you just lost connection, or I think you're gone. We might just move on, so while Charlene regains access to the event, so we might just get started on some of your questions that you have asked. So I suppose the first one is, if you come from a Gael school, or Irish is your first language, it's difficult to adapt to the heavy load of English reading. So I don't think any of our students with us today come from growing up with Irish as their first language, so it might be difficult for them to answer, but maybe one of our students could answer with regards to, is it difficult with the heavy load of English reading? How much reading are you doing? So Patrick, you might help answer with the regards to the load of English reading that needs to be done.
Yeah, just for the Irish part, for go to Gael School, but there is a course of Gaelga that Ars an Gaelga 1. It's like an evening course that you can do. I did it in first year. I think it was 2 hours on a Wednesday evening, and you got a diploma for Gaelga at the end of it. So, I mean, if there's anyone that wants to improve, that's an option. And I don't think lawyers are specifically required to have Irish, but if you're going to the bar, I think there might be an Irish entrance exam. On the level of reading, so I suppose the difference between secondary school and college is that for your Leaving Cert, you were handed your notes by your teacher and you learn them off by heart and you spit them out on a page in June in an exam hall. But in college, as Annalie was saying, you get to be a bit more critical, and law is such a huge subject that there's so many different avenues to explore. So in your lectures, you get kind of the outline of the topic, and you're kind of given kind of the headings, the pointers, I suppose, and then you supplement that then with your own reading. So, I mean, for an hour's lecture, maybe you might do read just to kind of top up what the lecturer has given you to kind of make your notes complete. It might be it's like the system of learning in college is definitely a change, but you get used to it. The first few weeks it might be a bit of a shock to the system that you're not getting your handouts from your business. You definitely get used to it, and I mean the challenge is what makes the whole process rewarding, I think.
Great, thanks Patrick. And I suppose just to mention, we actually have a new module available on all our law courses called Legal Irish. So you can actually study Legal Irish on any of our 5 full law degrees. And if you go onto our website, nuigalway.ie/law, there's actually a whole webpage dedicated to the study of Legal Irish, and it also mentions some of the career opportunities that are available if you have Irish and law degree. Lots of students often go on to work as EU lawyer linguists. So that's something that you might want to check out as well. And then moving on to the next question, if you want to study at NUI Galway, can you do it from home, online, or do you need to live in Galway? What's your best recommendation? So in general, every year our undergraduate courses are held on campus. This year has been an exceptional year in that they have been held online. Next year we don't know what the exact situation is going to be, but we are hoping to deliver classes on campus as much as possible, but there's no definitive answer on that yet. I'm not too sure where you live in Ireland, but there's probably some students who probably commute to university on a daily basis, especially if they're from Galway. So I hope that answers your question. And then how much focus is on criminology? How different is the course from the usual law degree? So maybe Annalie, you might talk a bit about maybe the criminology modules in first year, and was there many of them versus the other core law modules?
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, so no matter what law degree you do at NUI Galway, we all do the same core law modules. And then you also have optional modules. So when I have, say, criminology and criminal justice, my friends that do the law BCL, just pure law, might have, say, legal German or legal Spanish. So criminology, it is 1 module a week. It's the same kind of hours as any other law module, But I do find it interesting. It's actually my favourite module. And sorry, so how much different is it, the course from the usual law degree? Yeah, so we all do the same core law modules, as I said. It's just kind of an additional one when someone else might have an optional module. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I suppose all the 5 full law degrees have the core law modules, but then the optional modules are different. And I suppose criminology and criminal justice students, they have core criminology and criminal justice modules, whereas if you've done the law BCL, you do have the option to study criminology and criminal justice, but it's only a couple of modules. You won't study as many modules in criminology and criminal justice as you would on the main criminology and criminal justice course. Like on the law BCL, there is actually a specialist stream in final year, which is titled crime. So you do get an opportunity, but not as much as you would on the main law BCL criminology and criminal justice course. And I'm not too sure if any of our students with us have lived on campus. We do actually have, one student has asked, would you suggest living on campus, and is it expensive? Now there is a accommodation webinar and Q&A session on today, so you might get some more advice on that. But Charlena, Annalie or Patrick, have you lived on campus, and what has been your experience? Well, sorry Annalie, I know it's your first year, so you haven't, but Patrick, have you? Or
no, I'm from Galway, so I actually commuted. But like my friends who came from outside of Galway, yeah, 2 of them stayed in Card Village. There was no Gold Crest at the time, and others were at Dunoris, and then some other people just rented houses. But yeah, I think the accommodation webinar is definitely really useful. Even when we were going to our open days, it was very insightful for anyone coming from outside of Galway. So you'll definitely get more info there.
Yeah, great.
I actually commute.
Patrick, and oh sorry, Charlene, you were going to say something. Sorry.
I actually commute as well, but it's from further afield. I commute from Clare, but because of the new motorway, it's only an hour, and so it's very fast.
Very good, thanks. And yeah, I suppose just to reiterate, if you go to the main Open Day webpage, you will find a section on accommodation, so you can chat to the accommodation team and find out all the various prices for on-campus accommodation. And then another question, then moving on, I want to study criminology and law, and I was wondering what are the exact subjects I need to do, how much points on average I need to achieve in the Leaving Cert. Is there any other extracurricular or compositions to do higher my chances of getting into NUI Galway? So the main subjects that you need to do to the entry requirements for the criminology and criminal justice course are on the webpage under key facts. So they include the regular subjects like English, maths, Irish, and another language like German or French or so on. So there's no other specific subjects required other than the standard English, maths, Irish, and another language. And regards how much points you need on average, I suppose that's a tough question. Every year, the points for every course change. So we don't know what the points of the course will be this year. And last year was the first time we had the law BCL, criminology and criminal justice course. So it's very difficult to know what the points might be this year. We only have 1 year to go on. And I suppose the points are really factored on the grades of the students who apply for the course. So we don't know what the cut-off points will be until the Leaving Cert results are released and we look at who has applied. So it's unfortunately it's very difficult to answer that question. But Annalie, I suppose last year you would have applied for the law BCL criminology and criminal justice course and you wouldn't have known what the points might be. Do you have any advice for a student around that?
Yeah, my course last year I think was one of the most popular courses, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, but I think the average intake is about 20 compared to the other law degrees where there'd be more people. So obviously with it being more popular and high demand, the points will go up. for my year, I think it was 530. So it is high enough. And with regards to the extra subjects, kind of like what Lisa said there, and I remember when I was in 6th year and a lot of people were kind of, you're talking to different people trying to decide what you want, and a few people did recommend that I should have done Leaving Cert history, and not that you needed, but from the kind of perspective that it might help me. And I didn't do Leaving Cert history. I never liked it for junior cert, and I'm still getting good grades. So if anyone's kind of worried about that, I'd say no, law is so different to any Leaving Cert subject that you're studying. And yeah, and I just want to go back, Lisa, sorry, I was actually on Corb last year for the first few weeks, and I would recommend to go on campus simply because it's easier to make friends. And I will also say that I was kind of in the same position as anyone listening last year with the uncertainty with the pandemic. And I will say that Corb Village and Goldcrest were the first student accommodations to kind of give us back our refund when we were found out that we were online, whereas if you were renting private, you're not able to get that refund. So that might be something to consider as well.
Great, thanks so much, Annalie. And I suppose just on the points, I suppose it's really important to mention that you should always place your CEO preferences in genuine order of preference and not based on points, because the point of a course could go up or down or stay the same. We don't know. So I suppose I wouldn't be put off by points. I will just place your course choices in genuine order of preference, and just, I suppose, do your best, and hopefully you will get the points for the course that you want. And I suppose with regards to doing any extracurricular activities that would increase your chances, there is performance point scholarships. Maybe you could have a look at that on our website, but really there is nothing other than that, only the performance point scholarships. Moving on then to the next question. I'm just wondering regarding the law and business course, is it a big disadvantage going in without having a business subject studied in Leaving Cert? So Patrick, I might pass it over to you. I know a lot of students ask this question and they wonder if I haven't done accounting or business or economics or anything like that in Leaving Cert, is it going to be tougher for me in first year?
Well, the first thing to say is that business isn't a compulsory subject. I suppose the thing is with the law and business course, a flavour of the two of them. So, how law affects business, how business affects law, and to give you an insight into the two areas. So in first year, you will be studying accounting. So you'll be doing financial accounting in first semester and management accounting in second semester. So I had done accounting for Leaving Cert. It helped me, but not everyone does accounting for Leaving Cert. And a lot of my friends didn't do accounting for Leaving Cert and they got on just fine. So, everyone is starting off from the same basis when you go into the modules in September. If you have some background in accounting, it'll definitely help. Likewise, then in second year, you study economics modules. I hadn't done that in school, and I got on just fine without it. And you'll be studying a management module as well. And I had done business before, but what you learn in college is definitely a lot different to what I'd done in Leaving Cert. So, if you have an interest in business or an interest in numbers, economics, all that will definitely help you. You still have to put in the work when you get to college, unfortunately. So yeah, if you have kind of a basic understanding of it, it'll definitely help, but you'll get on just fine without it as well.
Great, thanks so much, Patrick. And I suppose it's also important to mention that accounting is taught at a basic introduction level in first year, and I've often heard students say who have actually studied accounting in the Leaving Cert that a little bit of the content in first year is actually a little bit repetitive on their accounting in the Leaving Cert because it's taught at an introduction level. Moving on then, if you study law here at NUIG, can you move abroad and get a job with a degree from Ireland? So I suppose we've had lots of students go abroad and practice as solicitors and barristers. Some of our students who have gone on and set the New York State Bar exam and have practiced over there. I suppose our degrees are very much focused on studying with the Law Society of Ireland and the King's Inn to become a barrister and a solicitor. However, students have gone on and done the relevant exams in other countries to practice overseas, but I don't know if any of our current students want to elaborate on that. Have you heard of any of your friends deciding to go study abroad?
There was one girl that I knew. She is currently working with the UN in civil law, and she's now working, I think, as a policy advisor with the UN in New York, and she's coming back shortly to work with the Department of Foreign Affairs. So, you know, you're definitely not limited to working as a solicitor or barrister. I know another girl that worked as a lawyer linguist with the EU Commission, and just to say as well that anyone that does qualify as a solicitor in Ireland is eligible to practice in England and Wales as well. And likewise, Canada and Australia both have very similar legal systems to what we use in Ireland. So it's definitely a lot easier to qualify and practice there as well.
Great, thanks so much, Patrick. And Anna Lee, I might ask you the next question. Do you have any plans yet as to what career you're thinking of with the Law BCL Criminology and Criminal Justice course?
Hi, thanks, Lisa. Well, I suppose I would really love to work for the DPP or the Department of Justice, but I kind of think straight out of college I probably will hopefully try get a training contract like Patrick and work in a firm for a little while, get some experience under my belt. But that would be the goal. Great,
thanks so much. And moving on to Alicia's question then. Charlene, if you could answer this one. I was wondering, as a mature student and having done my Leaving Cert 16 years ago, am I at a huge disadvantage, and will it be tougher for me doing it having done my Leaving Cert so long ago? So Charlene, how many years ago did you do your Leaving Cert, if you don't mind me asking? This lady has done it 16 years ago, and she's wondering how tough it would be to go to. Maybe if you could just tell us about how you found going back to education as a mature student.
So I did my Leaving Cert in 2012, 2013. It was a little strange coming back onto campus and getting back into the swing of assignments and things like that. But the campus is very supportive towards mature students, and I think being a mature student, you're on campus, you're doing the course because you want to, you're putting in the financial side, you're putting in the interest. So I think if I was to do this course straight out of school, I think I would have found it much tougher even than now, because I'm a mature student, I actually have a much greater interest to get myself through it and to kind of push myself through it. And there's a lady on campus who does a weekly meeting for mature students just to see how they're feeling and things like that, and how they're getting on campus, and could they do anything to support mature students. So there is a lot of mature students supports on campus, but I think you should be okay coming back into college after being out of the educational system for so long. I found it tricky, but I think I've pushed myself through college a lot better now, having the knowledge that I do, than if I was a bit younger. And I have fantastic friends who are also mature students who kind of helped me through it as well. And yeah, I think you should be okay. I wouldn't be worried.
Thanks. That's really reassuring for the prospective student who asked the question. But I suppose another question then is, how many people applied to GY 254 last year? So I don't have the exact figure off the top of my head, but in terms of how many people listed it as their first choice on their CEO application, I think it was close to 200 people who listed it as their first choice on their CEO application. But in total, I'm not too sure of the overall number who listed it as like first, second, third preference, and so on. And then finally, a question regarding a QQI applicant. And there's actually a talk today by Access on the entry requirements for a QQI applicant. And if you go to the NUI Galway website, there is an Access webpage, and there's a brochure there, and you can check all the entry requirements if you are a QQI applicant. I can't remember the maths entry requirement off the top of my head right now, so apologies. Or if you come along to our 2 o'clock public Q&A talk, I will copy and paste that answer for you. I might be able to put it in the chat now in a moment. I'll just check now if we have any more questions. One more after coming in. So I did my Leaving Cert in 2020, and I have deferred a place in Law and Human Rights course. In the past year, I have been working and haven't been doing anything academic, and I'm really worried that I will struggle once I begin college. Is there anything you could recommend to do before beginning, such as reading, etc.? So I suppose I know it's only a year since you've done your Leaving Cert, but I suppose Charlena seemed quite reassuring that, you know, it's okay if you've been out of practice a little while with regards education. But if any of our current students, have you done any reading prior to joining university? Was there any law books or anything like that that you took an interest to that you might recommend to prospective students watching?
Not hugely, just because you're so caught up with the Leaving Cert before you get into college. But I suppose, like, when you are, as Charlene said, you're investing so much into your college course, so naturally you're going to have an interest in what's coming on the news. You know, these high profile judgments that you see on the news every evening, like, they're just as fascinating when you're in college as you are before you start. I know I read there was a book by Rowan McCormack called The Supreme Court, and it's actually about the Irish Supreme Court. Very interesting book. So if anyone had any interest in law and was kind of behind the scenes, that's definitely one to read. And I haven't got around to it yet, but there's supposed to be a very good book on the life of Ruth Bader Ginsburg that I hope to get my hands on when exams are over. But they might be good. Oh, also, there's a good book called by the Secret Barrister. I'd recommend that as well.
Great, thanks so much, Patrick. Charlene, I think you're turned on your microphone. You have a recommendation.
Before I started college, I knew very little to nothing about the law because I was coming from a healthcare background, and my knowledge was very, very limited. So I purchased, I think it's John Tully's book. It's The Legal System in Ireland, and I just found it really, really helpful to get the basics down, just to get used to some of the terminology and some of the words, because I myself have a learning difficulty as well. So I just found that book really helpful to kind of just get around the little things that you might just want to start yourself off with, like the basics about the legal system, who's involved in it, the type of legal system we have in Ireland, kind of thing. I found it very, very helpful just to get the basics down before you're going into your lectures.
Great. Thanks so much, and I'm just actually popping the link in the chat for those wondering about QQI entry requirements. And again, there's an Access talk or an Access Q&A session on today, so if you visit the Open Day website, you will be able to find out more about the Access programs and QQI, FETech programs and so on, and all the various entry requirements. And I think there could be a talk with students who have Ken from applying for QQI and FETech places and so on. So I recommend that you go onto the Open Day website. And I think that is it in terms of question. As I suppose I'd like to finish up by maybe if one of our current students could answer, what would be your main advice for a prospective student watching now who is very unsure as to whether or not to study law in university? It's a tough question to answer, but I suppose what would you say to yourself? You're leading to yourself. So maybe if one of you could jump in, that would be great.
I would say go for it, jump in. For a while, I was kind of torn between medicine and law, but ultimately, you know yourself better than anyone else. Is this something that you're going to be happy studying? And if you're happy studying it, it's going to be easier. And if you really like it, well, then you're going to like your job. With law as well, there's so many different career paths afterwards, even if you don't want to go down the kind of traditional solicitor, barrister route. A lot of kind of big companies at the moment are looking for people with a kind of a law background, even if it's not to work in a legal sector. And law is just so interesting, and it really kind of changes the way you think and how you kind of look at things. So I think that there's an awful lot of, there's a huge advantage to studying law, even if you don't want to go down those traditional routes.
Great. Thanks so much, Annalie. And Patrick, I see your microphone on, so you can jump in.
Yeah, as Annalie said there, like you kind of know deep down, like there's so much hesitancy about actually just clicking submit on the CAO application, but you know deep down what will make you happy. I suppose one of the big concerns I had putting law on my CAO application was that I knew nobody in law. I didn't have I've no family relations in law, no connections, and that was kind of one of the things that people were saying to me, like, oh, well, good luck to you getting a job because you're not going to know anyone at the end of it. But that's rubbish. That is absolute rubbish. If law is what you put on your CAO and you know you really want it, my advice is once you get your course, just give it your all. Like, it's only 4 years out of your life. Like, I don't want to talk about the fact that I'm in my last few weeks now, but like the years just fly by and you really just have to give it your all, and you get out of it what you. And as Annalie said, like, you don't have to be a solicitor or a barrister at the end of the 4 years if you don't want to be. There's so much more potential. Like, a lot of people even go to do a master's in human resource management. So like that's also an option. But yeah, I think, to steal Nike's slogan, just do it.
Great. Thanks so much, Patrick and Annalie, for the advice, and thanks to Charlene as well for joining. The three of you have been fantastic, and thanks to everyone who is watching. We hope that you found this session useful, and if you have any further questions on specific course content, entry requirements and so on, please join us in 10 minutes time for our Pubble Q&A session. You can find the link to it on the Open Day webpage, and I might manage to post in the chat in the next minute or two when I find it. So thanks very much, everyone, and hopefully I will chat to some of you at 2 o'clock for the Q&A session. Thanks.
Thanks, Lisa. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.